How important is that power of observation in the analysis we do third party and recognizing you can get too close? So you take a step back, especially if you're not biased by certain things. How important is that?
Well, my experience is, and I've gone through a lot of businesses in the past years, and if I walked in and kind of walked through, if they took me on a tour of whatever the organization was, and people looked me in the eye and said, good morning or good afternoon, how are you? And there was some interaction. I could almost guarantee you when I asked the owner or the plant manager how things were going, they'd say, we're doing pretty good. Not making a ton of money, but we're doing pretty good, you know?
And you felt like that was an honest assessment?
And it was a positive, yes.
Okay.
Now, if I got no interaction from people or very little other than maybe the receptionist, I got was pretty predictable that they'd say business isn't good and that something was permeating that attitude, a poor attitude was permeating throughout the organization.
So intuitively, by just being able to go in and get and read the first impression from just the aura that was being extended outward, you began to develop an impression of the results and the environment that was going on within that particular facility.
Yes.
And in what percentage of the time did you find that initial awareness was really true?
Like 98.9.
Oh.
Almost all the time. And frankly, it was that was upheld by a partner that I worked with from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And when we frequently did some calls together, but then did our own separately, and we actually started keeping track, and it was almost all the time. That was a good. We would hear what people, what the employees were telling us without saying a word to us.
When you look at patterns of success of people and companies, is it the really complicated things that they figured out that are making the difference, or is it really the very basic things like what you're describing that are really the elements of success?
It's the basics. And it's willing to make a change, because I had called on clients year after year, and if they'd just done one little something different, or if they'd made a phone call, or if they contacted their bank about their mortgage and maybe the rate. I mean, there are some very simple things, very easy things that could be done, but they're going to be a change to how they've been doing business, and people were so reluctant to do that.
So you're not even suggesting that it needs to be radical change that companies need to really embark on unless they're towards the end of their path. You're talking about if a company will just continue to implement and encourage and reinforce those basic building blocks of success and be aware of the change necessary to keep in tune with your membership or your marketplace or your product development or whatever it is.
Exactly.
It's those timely, small steps that are, as we say, the law of accumulation, that keep accumulating to positive results. Otherwise, if you fail to do those basic things along the way, sooner or later, you're going to have to pay the big price.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
So it's your choice. You can do it on an ongoing basis and focus on the basics, which is probably the companies that you said are comfortable. The employees greet you good morning, and they feel good with their role within the company, versus I almost think you're telling me that employees, whether they know it or not, know when they're on a ship that's headed towards the iceberg.
Oh, I think so, and that they're valued for their contribution to the community, and that they're listened to. So that is crucial.
So even though they don't know that there's a big problem, they feel
intuitively they know
there's a big problem. And so you picked up on that read by just going in, and they just weren't comfortable saying good morning because they just weren't sure.
Yeah. Was I there to, I mean, they
just weren't sure.
No, they didn't know if I was there to lock the door or what.
And the other people were very confident that things were good. We're getting good communication. We're focusing on the basics.
Right.
We feel really good about what's going on. And your unscientific study with such a high degree of probability suggests that it is so important to invest in leadership, to invest in coaching, to stay relevant, whether you're a country club or membership-based or a for-profit. All those principles stay the same. And that a company like MB Strategies can help you assess where you are in focusing on the fundamentals, can provide the training of the fundamentals, can deal with you if you get to the end of the path and you have to make the dramatic change, but I think it's also fair to say our preference is to help companies stay relevant and provide the leadership both at the operational and the board level, and provide the coaching so we don't have to do the turnaround
The end of the road,
strategies, which
yes.
can be sometimes very painful and very difficult for a lot of people.
Yes.